Whoa, welcome back to video 3 for the key of G. In the first video we talked about the main 4 chords that makes up the key of G. What are they? G, C, D, and E minor. In the second video we talked about all the parameters of the key of G. We've got G, we've got A minor, we've got G over B, C, D, E minor, and D over F sharp. In this video we're going to talk about some more modern, some more common, some alternate ways to play some of these chords that could be 1, a little bit easier to play, and 2, sounds great. So, does that sound great? That sounds great to me. Sounds great. You can go to InsideOutNWA.com. NWA stands for NorthwestArkansas.com, and download the free guidebook and see the videos in an organized format. So, let's dive right in. We talked about a little bit in an earlier video the 2 different ways to play a G chord. They're both G major, whether you have these 2 down or you have an open B. Let's go on to the A minor chord. Let me show you some alternate A minors for the key of G. You know regular A minor. Well, commonly I like to play A minor 7. What in the world is an A minor 7? Well, let's back up a little bit and talk about numbers. What in the world does it mean when you see numbers? What you do is, it's basically a color that you're adding to the chord, or a flavor you're adding to your chord, besides its main notes. The A minor chord is made up of A, C, and E notes. Anytime you add a different note into that chord, you got to give it a name. So that's where these numbers come in. A minor's 7th. Okay, we'll call A 1. What's A's 7 note? If we went all the way through all 7 of these, what would this note be? Let's go A. Start with the letter you're on, the chord that you're on. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A's 7 note is a G note. So A minor 7 means an A minor chord with a G note in it. In the higher range. It can't be like a bass G. It can't be like an A minor with a low G in it. That would have a different name. So where can we find some G notes? Well, we have an open G, the 4th string down. So when I let go of this note here and reveal the open G, we're playing A minor 7. Dum da 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 dum 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 da 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 dum da 7th one. Sounds nice. Pretty easy to play. And so what that does is it ties the A minor chord to the G, right? We're in the key of G. G is the thread that finds its way kind of all throughout this key. So why not include a G note in our A minor chord? All right, let me throw one other option to you. A lot of times when I play an A minor chord, I'll play the A minor 7, but I'll throw this high G in here too. So now we actually have 2 G's in this A minor chord. Open G, playing between here, and a high G. It's a really nice sounding chord. You get that high G note in there. And what that does too is it helps it not be such a big jump between the G and the A minor chord. This stays down and it kind of becomes like a pivot foot like in basketball. That leads us to our G over B. We talked about how to do that in video 2, but we're focusing in on that B note. G over B means it's a G chord, but B is the bass note. So going through G to A minor 7. You can hammer some of these on. G over B. And that leads us to our C chord. We can go traditional C, or really commonly people will play this C add 9. For practical purposes, for now, when you see a chord with the number 2 next to it or 9, whether it's C add 9, C sus 9, C2, C add 9, C sus 2, right? Those all kind of refer to the same thing for now, okay? Commonly, we call this a C9 or C add 9. C9 is actually something else, more of a jazz chord, but we don't really play that very often. So a lot of times people just call it a C9. And for all practical purposes, anytime you see a C2, C sus 2, C add 2, C9, C add 9, C sus 9, whatever, they're referring to the same number. Why is 2s and 9s the same? Well, there's a separate video for what in the world is up with these 2s and 9s. But 1, when you go all the way around the circle, you land at 8. Octave, oct, 8. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, if 1s and 8s are the same, just go to that next spot. You see a 2. Go all the way back around. You end up at 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 8, 9. 2s and 9s are kind of the same. They're the same note, but technically it should be an octave apart from each other. But as a strummy dude on the acoustic guitar, you don't have to worry about that too much. Just know that for now, 2s and 9s are the same note. So, all that to say, here's a fancy C add 9 chord. It's really easy enough to get from G to the C add 9. You probably already know this chord. So, try not to spend too much time on it, and don't leave me here because I'm going to add some more stuff to this. Another thing I like to do with this C chord, you can release the pinky. A natural C chord has a high E note in it, the open E. So this is just a C with the 9 note with a regular old E note in it. It's a nice sounding chord. Another thing you can do to your C chord, if you think it sounds good, is play what's called a C major 7. What's the C major 7 note? Well, start with C, go all the way to 7, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. It's a B note. The major 7 is the note right behind this high C. This is a C, that's a C. Release that, and we get a B note. Open B. It's a nice chord. Major 7s are what I call melting chords. We melt into them. Right? That's the 9. How about this? 9, 8, major 7. Let's keep going down just for fun. What's lower than this B in the key? This A note. 6. Anyway, having fun with the numbers here. So very commonly we get G to this C add 9 chord. So if you're in the key of G and it says G chord, then on the chord chart it says C, just because it doesn't say C add 9 or something C9, C2 something, doesn't mean you can't play that chord if you think it sounds good. In a way, I want you to feel kind of liberated to express these chords how you feel like they should be expressed for the song. It needs to match the song. If I'm playing an old Johnny Cash song or something, old country, I'm probably not going to play that C add 9. It sounds better and more appropriate for the song to play a traditional C. Right? Those traditional shapes just seem right for the song. Now that sounds good, but it doesn't sound traditional. Okay, so let's go to our D chords. I'm gonna go ahead with it and show you some fancy ones. Very commonly, you'll see a D sus 4 or just D sus when you're in the key of G. What is D sus for? Well, it's a pinky down on this high G note. Da, 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 suspended. sus4 means leave out the 3, 1, 2, 3, and instead include a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The D is lifted with that pinky there. Suspended chords. If I suspend this guitar in the air, I suspend it in the air, it's not relaxed, it's not resolved, it's not back to earth, it's lifted, it's suspended. Only when we resolve it does it relax again. Music is all about tension, release, tension, release. A good song should pull you that way. So, going back to random song you're playing, key of G, and you see a D chord, it doesn't mean you can't suspend that chord and give it a little tension and resolve it. Okay? Going a little further with this sus4 chord, the D sus4. What note is it again? It's a G. We're in the key of G. So why not include a G note into your song when we go to D in some way and tie it back to the key? That allows those chords to kind of overlap each other in a way, to tie themselves together rather than be chord, chord. Like G, D, why not G, D sus, and then D, right? See what I mean? That G note kind of ties the two chords together. Commonly in the key of G, I'll also play a D, when I'm playing a D chord, release that open E string. It's a 9, it's a D9 note or a D2 note. Right? Sounds nice. Right? Alright, so there's your 5 chord. D is G's 5 chord. Going on to E minor. I'm going to go ahead and throw in a really common way to play this E minor when we're in the key of G. It's similar to the key of D when we went to E minor. We're going to make it a 7 chord, but we're also going to just include this pinky note. So we have this pair here on the 2nd fret, and we have this pair of fingers here on the 3rd fret on the high 2 strings. What does that do? Number 1, sounds cool. And it ties itself to the G chord really nicely. In fact, the only difference between these two chords is this middle finger. E minor, 7, regular G with a D note in it. Alright, so hopefully we're starting to see a theme here with these chords in the key of G. The theme is the high pinky note. It's a G note again. Why not include that thread through all these chords for now? Okay, so what I do there, I was just going around the circle. G, A minor, G over B, C, D, E minor, while basically just keeping most of this down the whole time, except for the A minor. I released the 3rd finger to reveal the pointy finger back here. G over B, C add 9, D sus4. You can resolve it or not. E minor, 7. Now E minor, traditional E minor, includes a G note, this open G, already. So it doesn't really change the nature of the chord for me to include the pinky note. Where the 7 comes in is on this note where the 3rd finger is. It's a D note. E's 7. Any 7 you want to find is the letter behind the chord that you're on. Say that again. The 7 note is the note behind the chord that you're on. Because the 8 would be an octave of it, the same note. So the 7 would be the letter behind it. What is this note here that I'm holding? It's a D note. We're on an E minor chord. What's the letter behind E, lower than E? D. So we have this D note included in our E minor chord. Now we have an E minor 7 with a high G note in it, and G is already in an E minor chord, so its nature didn't change. We don't necessarily give that a name. All right, now this leads us to our 7 chord. Most commonly, the 7 chord is what we call a 5/7. In this case, what's the key of G's 5 note? D. What's the 7 note? F sharp. So it's a D over F sharp. We've talked about traditional ways to play it before, but it's a D chord with an F sharp note in the bass. All right, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you a common way we play D over F sharp when we're in the key of G. What was that thread we were playing through all these chords? It was this G note. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna continue that theme by keeping that there, and this is how we play commonly D over F sharp when we're in the key of G. That's a mouthful, but it's like this. 2nd fret. You can either mute the A string or include it. I usually like to mute it because it cleans the sound up a little bit. These 2 notes are kind of muddy. You might call them the muddy because they're both low and they're both pretty close to each other. So I usually, you can mute it or not. What we have here technically is a D sus4 over F sharp. In a way, there is some dissonance between this note and the high note. Ew, you might go, why would you put those together? Well, in context to the motion of the chords, for example, if we're going from G to D over F sharp to E minor, it sounds kind of neat. Again, we have this resolve on G, we have this tension on the D over F sharp, and then kind of a release again to the E minor chord. This is what I mean. You didn't feel that tension as much anymore, and if you did, it was not a bad tension, it was kind of worked, right? Why not, right? So I'm going G, D over F sharp for the key of G, E minor 7 to C add 9. Sounds pretty good. So let's go all the way through the key. Let's go backwards. Da, na, 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 na. G, D over F sharp, E minor, D, C, G over B, A minor, G. But with these more common shapes, kind of like what we were just doing. Pretty much gonna stack those there almost the entire time. G, D over F sharp, E minor 7, keeping those there. Let's go D sus4, because it sounds cool. C add 9, G over B, focus on the B, A minor 7, this comes up. Honestly, there are some songs I can think of where I'd call this a cheater A minor chord. It's like beyond traditional, and doesn't even include A's minor note, but it can pass as an A minor-ish for the key of G, and it goes like this. It's like the C add 9 without that note. So sounds cool, and it's on some popular songs. So you can do that for now if you think that sounds good and you're having a hard time with the changes. But you can also try that, actually have that C note in there, which really pulls that minor note in. Okay, so we're gonna go backwards. 1 measure on each chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. E over F sharp. E minor 7. Going to D sus4. G over B. Focusing in on that B note. A minor 7. So that's a nice introduction to the key of G, not just the traditional chords, but what chords are in the key, what are all the chords in the key, and what are some alternate ways to play some of these chords to give you options. Options are good. They allow you to be a more versatile, more powerful player when you can say, okay, instead of this C, I'll do this C add 9. Instead of just a plain D, I'll do a D add 9, D sus 4. Instead of this plain A minor, I'm gonna make an A minor 7, etc. Now you're more colorful, you're more multi-dimensional as a player. This is still on that intro level though. So lastly, before we stop, I just want to show you a couple little additional moves you can do with your playing with some work. Particularly, they have to do with what's called hammer-ons. A hammer-on, imagine a hammer-on hitting something, all right? We're going to be a hammer onto the strings. A common thing I do with my G chord is to hammer on this pointy finger. And in fact, to add to that, this whole little scale sounds nice in the key of G. What? I didn't have to go anywhere to get all 6 of that motion into my G chord. I'm focusing into those notes as I'm playing them. With some work, you can do it as well. Let's move that to our C add 9. The same theme applies. I can still go, I've got a smaller little scale there, but for one, consider that you can hammer this note on. Okay, all I did is I brought down 1 again, just like I did on my G chord. The G gave me 6 notes. When I move this down, I only have the 4 notes total. But hammering on those notes sounds nice. Okay, I took a little bit of motion, a little bit of melody back into my G chord. Let's talk about the A minor chord, particularly the A minor 7 with the open G. This note sounds nice to hammer on. It's that same note that we hammered on from our C add 9. Sounds nice, right? You can also hammer on this pointing finger. Didn't have to go anywhere to get it. It's right there for me. Sounds nice. Going to G over B, it sounds nice to hammer on this note. So it's put in motion, and what it does is it adds even more rhythm because I'm getting one strum and I'm getting motion after that. So bottom. Now we're adding like 16ths and stuff. I went to that C add 9, hammered that on. D is a fun one. Again, we've got all this high string stuff we can do it. That's a really common type of thing to do to your D chord. But lastly, I'll add this hammer on here. Pointing finger on and off, hammer. So listen to it in context from the A minor again. G over B, to C add 9, hammering on that note, hammering on that note. Let's move on to E minor, because that's the next chord in the key. And I'll just add that these two also sound really nice to hammer on. And this one, or both. If you want to dig into it a little bit. But I'll say it has to be done in a rhythmic way. It needs to make sense to the song, and it needs to be done in good timing. So that'll happen with time. D over F sharp sounds nice to hammer on here. If you want that real low kind of thing, down. So again, it's a good introduction to the key of G. The chords in the key, some extra options to play, and everything on these 3 videos has been within the first 3 frets, what we call cowboy chords. Imagine a cowboy on the range. He's gonna be just picking, strumming in these open chords. He's not gonna be ripping solos. Maybe he is, we don't know. He's on the range. But we're playing from those first 3 frets. Thank you so much for watching these videos. You can visit InsideOutNWA.com, download the free guidebook, and see the videos in a organized way. And I hope you get something from these videos. I'm going to continue these videos, video 4 and 5, but that's not going to be for a little bit. So anyway, my name is Jacob Paul with Inside Out Studio. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions and anything like that, leave them in the comments, and who knows, maybe we'll make more videos based on your comments and questions. Thanks again. See you next time.